Welcome to the Dojo Talk Podcast. Please remove them shoes before entry.
Sam Master is here, and you still have not taken off your shoes.
Yeah. Living every day to define man's mission. Look into the sky for divine transmission. Deaf man's vision makes the blind man listen. Eyes on the prize, this is blind ambition. Thank you.
What's going on, world? Welcome to another edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. It is September the 18th. And, recording my second episode in 2 days. Trying to stay productive, but, so it's been a solid weekend, man. We had Triple G and Canelo fight. We had the UFC Pittsburgh card. So by the time you guys hear this podcast, the episode of that I recorded with my co-host, the Anti-Cool, will be out. So definitely go check that out. Amazing night of fights. Also amazing. A lot going on in the football world too, in between college and the NFL. Just a lot of sports, man. Sports is just it's everywhere now, man. You can't escape it. Combat sports. We got football back in swing. NBA's like right around the corner. A lot going on, man. A lot going on. So, but be sure to check out that podcast. As I said, by the time you guys hear this, the coverage of the Triple G and Canelo fight, as well as the UFC Pittsburgh card headlined by Dave Branch and Luke Rockhold. I'll have that episode out, so you guys can go check that out, listen to it. Pretty dope episode. We covered a lot in a pretty decent amount of time. We managed not to run on for too long, but yeah, man, trying to put out content. As always, you can listen to me on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play, hopefully one day iTunes if they ever respond back to my email. But yeah, man, spread the word. Share with a friend of a friend, grandma, grandpa, all that good stuff. But today, got a lot to cover. I think I can get through this maybe fairly quickly, depending on how long I ramble. I've got like 5 projects to go over, but this is a special episode. I'm doing something probably a little different than what I've done before. So first on deck, I'm gonna cover the Samurai Shin project. Now, Samurai Shin is a comic, but it also has some music attached to it. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna kind of review this all as a whole. So I'm gonna talk about Samurai Shin Volume 1, Volume 1.5, and I'm also gonna go over the music attached to it. So that would be Samurai Shin, the OST, and then there's Samurai Shin, the Prelude. So yeah, I'm gonna cover kind of all 4 of those, and then I'm gonna quickly at the end, I want to give some brief thoughts on Children of the Ether by Lesean Thomas, which I'll get into. But let's start with Samurai Shin, because we got a lot to go over with this. There's a lot attached to it, but I really wanted to talk about it. I really enjoyed the rollout, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm low-key jealous of this project, only because I've had a similar idea of something I've wanted to do that's somewhat in the vein of this, not necessarily samurai related, but just in terms of releasing a piece of art that's like attached to some bodies of music. So I'm low-key jealous of this rollout, but it's all good, man. This is a project I definitely was looking forward to reviewing and talking about. So I'd like to get into it. As I stated, Samurai Shin is a comic, which, quick plug, can be purchased on comiccentrals.com. As I said, it's I have a Volume 1 out right now and Volume 1.5, but we're going to stick with Volume 1 first. So Samurai Shin is created by Michael Miles and illustrated by, I don't know if it's Evan or Ivan. I'm going to go with Ivan Aguilar. So I guess basically in a nutshell, I don't want to spoil the entire story because I kind of want you guys to read it. But just to give a kind of a background of the story. So Samurai Shin basically follows 2 young samurai. So the main 2 characters that you'll see throughout the comic are Amir, Atsuko, and Keith Masaru. Amir is kind of the more calm, level-headed, I guess a little bit more mature samurai, and Keith is very, very abrasive, very, very arrogant in a way. He's kind of like Mugen from Samurai Champloo. He's very boastful, he's very out there. Meanwhile, Amir is definitely more, he's more so on the Jin tip from Samurai Champloo. For those of you who have watched, a lot more, seems like this a lot more level-headed, a little bit more preserved. But the story follows these two as they're young, and they're just kind of on their journey to become great samurai. Kind of a story we've seen before in other shows. It's kind of that same format. Volume 1 probably focuses a bit more on Amir, and then 1.5, which I'll get to in a bit, tends to focus a lot more on Keith, which I thought was good because you get a chance to see how their stories kind of develop from a youth to, I guess, when they're older, and you kind of just get a good background sense of the two. But sticking with Volume 1, I kind of like how straight out the gate, I love when I read or watch something and I get like good action straight out the gate. Don't waste any time. Let's just jump right into it. So straight out the gate on Volume 1, you get a quote unquote sparring session between Amir and Keith. And I say quote unquote because, mostly in a real life sparring situation. I mean, I get it. It's contact. You're fighting, but the goal isn't like to necessarily beat the other person. You're kind of like trying out new techniques, or just kind of practicing. You might get hit, clucked a few times, but nothing too serious. But these two are, at least Keith. Keith's going hard, man. He's he's almost like trying to take Amir out, and so yeah, the comic starts off. You get to see them two just. Keith is going all out onslaught mode, and Amir is just kind of like, "Oh, this dude's serious right now. Like he's really trying to kill me." And Keith ends up cutting him, and Amir's like, "Oh, like I'm bleeding. Like this is real now." So, Amir, I guess in self-defense, he's like, "Well, if you're gonna go hard, I guess I gotta go hard." So, they have a nice little exchange. And right before it gets too real, right before a body drops, their sensei Kenzo, I believe is his name, he steps in and, basically has to break up the fight. He's like, "Listen, man, you guys shouldn't be doing this. Like, we shouldn't be, we're not out here to kill each other. We're supposed to learn from each other." The typical sensei speech, like trying to reel the two young guns in. And basically Keith is kind of like, "Man, I'm not really with this whole program you guys got going over here." I guess Keith is a bit resentful of Sensei Kenzo and Amir, which you kind of get a better insight into in the 1.5 edition. But he's not really feeling the whole. I guess he feels like they're holding him back from his true potential. And basically, after the sparring session, Keith just dips out. He just leaves. So, like I said, right off the bat, I thought it was just kind of cool how they really thrust you into the story. So there's no wasting time. It's like, all right, you get a good sense of where things might be going. And like I said, I don't really want to spoil the entire story because I'd rather you guys read it. But it's a good intro point to the story for both characters. And like I said, Volume 1 does tend to focus more on Amir than Keith. So you kind of get a deeper background and a bit understanding of Amir in the first volume. You get to meet his mom. And then towards the end, which I don't want to spoil, but it gets real at the end. Amir gets his first. Well, he and Keith was a real encounter, but it was kind of saved by the sensei. But it ends with another encounter, and it gets real. It escalates really, really fast. So, yeah, I won't really spoil it. Like I said, I'd rather you guys just read it, see for yourself. But yeah, man, it ends. I hate to say nicely. That's probably not even the proper word, but it ends on a good. It ends on a good note, as to say. You know that the story is about to switch to a certain direction, so it does a good job of making you want to read more, because you know it's about to get real. I also like to mention, I guess, some of the artwork. I thought the artwork in this comic was pretty solid. Good character designs for Amir and Keith. Amir is, and I think they showed this in one of the artworks. I think Amir is 16 and Keith is 15, so both really young dudes. Amir, African American, has the whole, not quite an afro, but he's like pre-Afro Samurai-ish. Really, young African American kid. Sensei Kenzo, kind of a typical sensei. I feel like you've seen one old master, you've seen them all. Really old guy with a beard, bald head. But yeah, I thought the character designs in here were pretty solid. Coloring's pretty solid in the comic. I think my favorite scene, which isn't really a spoiler, it was a fun scene where you get to see Amir and his mom, and there's a scene in the comic where he talks about how tough his mom is. There's a scene where I guess Amir was about to get attacked by a wolf when he was a kid, and his mom just slaps the wolf with a wooden stick. And like on the far right panel of the comic, I really enjoyed how this was drawn, how they show his mom and Amir standing next to him, and they both had that really, if you watched like anime before, you kind of know when they get into the goofy modes and they do that really like goofy smile. So I thought that was really dope. That's on like the right panel of the comic on that page when that part happened. So yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. It was a nice touch. And my other favorite part, which I can't really say due to spoiler alerts, but the end of the comic, man. The end of the comic is it gets real at the end. So yeah, I can't really delve too much into it, but I'll just say you get to meet a villain who I'm pretty sure is going to become a focal point of the story at some point. So yeah, that's kind of how the first volume pretty much goes. Like I said, you get to just see, you get an introduction to Amir and Keith, but then eventually it just kind of focuses more on Amir, as Keith just kind of runs off and does his own thing. So you get that solid introduction into the first character. And then, yeah, that's pretty much off of volume 1. Like I said, I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to spoil it. But it's a solid introduction, man. It's a really solid comic. Like I said, solid art design, pretty good story so far. It's a good start of just thrusting you in and kind of just throwing you in there, and then you get a good sense of what's going on. It's not really too complicated to follow, but I just kind of like that it just kind of threw you in there, because I myself, I'm not a fan of things that, like, I don't mind something slowly building, but you kind of know when a story just drags out for too long. So I feel like they did a good job of just pushing you in there without you having to read like 80 pages of just some mindless build up that doesn't lead to anything. So definitely appreciated that. And the dialogue is also, it's solid. I think it could be better, but I feel like as these issues go on, I think the dialogue will be better. It's not that it's not terrible or bad. It's kind of like in the middle, but it's good enough to where you get a sense of what's going on. The dialogue helps you get, a good enough sense of the characters and their personality. Like I said, I think it could be improved a little bit, but I feel like as the issues go on, naturally, I feel like the writing will just probably get better. Like I said, it's only the first issue, so we'll see. But definitely a solid start to the Samurai Shin story. And then on to 1.5. So let me give a shout out. It's also written by Michael Miles. This was illustrated by Harley De La Cruz. And shout outs to the cover artist. I apologize, I'm probably gonna butcher your names. Sukma Agustriana and Fami Fauzi. The cover art on the 1.5 issue I thought was really dope. You get this guy. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to have the comic pulled up in front of me. I'm trying to scroll back to the cover. So you get this guy who's holding a gun sideways with some dreads, and then you have a picture of Keith kind of imposed next to him, and then there's like this pair of dice also in like the upper left hand corner. You'll see I thought the cover to me looks really dope. Actually, my first thought when I saw the cover, well, there's always somebody in the samurai story who has to bring a gun in. Like, there's always that one guy. There's always that one guy, man. He's got to bring the pistol into the game when everybody else is using swords or hand to hand. But hey, man, I guess that's what makes him. But 1.5, as I said, centers a lot more around Keith, and it basically picks up from Keith's perspective where the very first scene of the first edition left off. So it starts off with the recap of Keith, leaving the sparring session, being mad, and kind of walking off, basically leaving that town and just saying like, man, I'm kind of just done with you guys. And then it goes into this flashback, and you get to see Keith as a young kid, and you get the backstory of kind of how he and Amir first met, and kind of how they became rivals in a way. They kind of had this, it seemed like they had like this weird relationship where they were like quote unquote friends, but it felt like Keith probably always just kind of resented him. And I guess I could say that part. So basically they had a little kendo tournament when they were both really, really young, and yeah, Amir gave him the business. Keith's been just kind of angry and bitter ever since. So that's kind of how that starts. And I also thought it was cool. You get introduced to Keith's father, Fuji, who I guess was also like a master samurai, dual wielding katana holder, which I thought was dope. Always fun to see that style. So you get to see his pops and how his pops tried to mold him, teach him lessons, that even when you lose, there are, things to learn and defeat, so on and so forth. So, Keith seemed like he had a pretty solid upbringing, probably up until about the middle of the comic where things kind of take a left turn. But you get to see how like both families are connected, because Keith's father also has a relationship with Sensei Kenzo. Those two seem to have had prior history together, so you kind of get to see that unfold. You get a better feel of how all of the relationships, I guess, in the comic work. And then, as I said, towards the end, which I won't spoil, so you guys can just read it, but we get introduced to some more villains. And like I said, as always, there's always a guy coming with a gun. There's always one guy in the samurai story who's not about the samurai life. He has to come through with the pistol, and he's got to do what he does. So we get introduction to some villains. The villains definitely do some work. Definitely some very sinister people, and it kind of seems like they're definitely on a quest. No, I won't go into it. You know what villains do. They come to they bring the damage, man. They're out here catching bodies. They're trying to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. So yeah, we get to see Keith's story, which I guess in a way, I ain't gonna say you kind of get a sense of his anger, and that it's not all just attached to him losing to Amir when he was a kid. He had a lot more that definitely happened to him before the end of this comic, so you get a better sense of probably why he's just so angry and bitter all the time. But yeah, the both comics have this thing where they kind of start off, well, actually, you know what, the first one didn't really start off calm, but they do a good job of ending on notes where like something happened. Like they don't leave you high and dry. It ends on a climactic note of like a major event always happens at the end. So I think as long as they keep that up, you know, it'll keep readers interested as to seeing what's going on, or what's, you know, keep them interested in wanting to know what will happen in the next issue. And at the very end of 1.5, you get the cover of the Samurai Shin 2 issue, and yeah, it's looking real bloody. It's looking like some people aren't gonna make it. Some people are not gonna make it, man. So yeah, I love this cover art on issue 2, man. It looks really dope. So I'll definitely be looking forward to that. So yeah, man, like overall, these both were pretty solid comics, pretty solid issues. Artwork throughout both, like I said, was solid. So far the story seems pretty good. Like I said, you get good background to both of the main characters, and then they do a pretty good job of introducing you to other characters along the way. So you kind of get an idea of where the story is gonna go. You know, kind of just, at least so far, kind of like your typical samurai. I don't know if coming of age is the right term, but you know, the samurai journey story. You know, hardships, death, learning, you know, overcoming adversity. It seems like a lot of that I would predict is what will come into play later, as these issues, you know, keep releasing and things like that. But I'm a villain guy. I feel like your story is as good as your main villain, and the villains that I've seen so far, I'm definitely enjoying. Like I said, it's always that one guy who brings the gun. As much as sometimes I don't like that, feel like you kind of need a guy like that, because you just know he's breaking all the rules. So the villains in this story seem pretty dope. They're definitely not wasting time in accomplishing what they're trying to do. So I appreciate that. Like the story just seems like it's rolling. It's not a lot of filler. Everything seems to have its purpose, and yeah, man, it flows really good. I definitely enjoyed this. It was a solid read. Both these comics aren't really long, so you can get through these pretty quick. And I mean, and bonus note, I know people are always, like, for whatever reason, like not willing to shell out money, but comics are like $1 on comiccentral.com. So yeah, they're $1 a piece. So why not? like why not buy them? Why not support? Like I said, that they're both solid issues, and it seems like from 1 to 1.5 that they're getting better, like in terms of everything. Like artwork is getting better, dialogue is getting better. So I feel like that, you know, as long as it stays on the current trajectory that it's at, you know, only better things are to come. So yeah, man, Samurai Shin 1, 1.5, both solid comics. Something to keep an eye on, man. If you're a fan of like Samurai Shin, it's just Samurai Shin, which is what this is. But you might, hopefully after this, you will be a fan. But if you're a fan of like Samurai Champloo, Afro Samurai, you know, shows like that, this would probably definitely be something right up your alley. So yeah, man, I don't want to drag it out. If you enjoy samurais, if you like fighting, if you want to see a guy who, the loner with a gun, the samurai story, definitely give this a read, man. It's a solid story, solid comics, and it seems like it's getting better with each issue. So I'm definitely looking forward to the second issue whenever that comes out. But also, like, what I like about this whole project as a whole is, aside from just the comics themselves, the comics are accompanied with these two music projects. So we have Samurai Shin, the Prelude, and then we have Samurai Shin, the OST. So I guess technically I should probably review the OST first because I think that came out first. So let me go into that one first, and then I'll get to the Prelude, which I think was recently released, like this year. So the OST, let me give production shout outs. So P Soul, G Ammo, Gia Don, DP City Prophet, Mike Mookie Williams, Foster, Spencer Jones, and I think it was Nightingale Productions. And then you get vocals from Chill Squad and Jamin Warren. Pretty much for both of these EPs, I'll say, the OST and the Prelude. If you're a fan of like Nujabes, Marcus D, Fat John, like those kind of artists that really kind of like boom bap, but it's like more on the jazzy side, more on the soulful jazzy side, these OSTs, I mean these EPs will be right up your alley. The majority of the tracks on them are instrumentals. Well, let me just stick to the OST. So the majority of the tracks are instrumentals, but you do get a few vocal performances. But like I said, like overall, the production on the OST, like I said, really, really jazzy, good jazzy, boom bap, good soulful, good samples. Like I said, it's really like that Samurai Champloo kind of soundtrack music. Like that's a lot of what these, when I hear these tracks, like that's a lot of what it reminds me of. So you get tracks that are really, really laid back. Some of them are like really serene, really reflective sounding instrumentals pretty much throughout the OST. So some of my favorite tracks, I love how this actually starts off. The intro track, which isn't really an instrumental, but you get a vocal performance track from Laquan Bennett and Damon Mills, who are playing Amir Keith, and the intro is just pretty much Amir, who is I think played by Laquan Bennett, just kind of telling Keith like, listen man, we don't really need to fight, and Keith's like, pretty much, nah man, we're it's about to go down. So you get to hear them fight and the swords clashing in the background. I thought it was a really good start to the EP, mostly because they have some like official voice actors. Laquan, well, I've researched them literally before I started recording, but Laquan Bennett, who plays Amir, has this really kind of like deep calm voice. And then you have Damon Mills, who has done a lot of work with Funimation. I believe he's done voices on like Dragon Ball Super. He's done voices with some of the Pokemon series. So both of these guys are like legit voice actors, and it sounds really legit when you listen to it. So I just thought it was a really dope kickoff to the OST, and referring it back to the comic. Like now you kind of get a better sense now that you actually hear the voices of kind of what it makes the music even adds more to the comic, because now it fills in the gap of, now you don't need to figure out like or guess what do Amir and Keith sound like now you actually have vocals to match it. So I just thought that was good, that like all of the music from the OST ties back into the comic, and it makes it that much, it makes it like that much better to read. They definitely like, they feed off of each other. The comic makes the OST, I don't say makes it sound better, but you appreciate the OST more when you read the comic, because it kind of sets like, you can get a sense of some of these tracks like playing in the background while you're reading the comic, which is kind of what I did. So I feel like they both complement and enhance each other. But like I said, favorite tracks, I love the intro, how it started off. I love the Leaves track by P Soul. Stay on Point. To me, kind of seems like the official Samurai Shin theme song, pretty much. So I thought that track was really dope. I wish I had it in front of me, because I know that track had a vocal performance. I'm so mad I can't remember who. Let me see if I can find this real quick, because I want to give people their props if I can find it. Oh Lord, this is gonna get me so mad that I can't find this. Oh, the Chill Squad. Okay. So Chill Squad, who delivered the vocal performances on Stay on Point. Like I said, I feel like that track kind of pretty much embodies this comic. So I love that track. Rain by P Soul, really laid back track. Very kind of like one of those tracks I feel like you would hear at the point of an anime with the characters kind of like in a mode of reflection. So I thought that was dope. And Passed by Kuro Silence, who's also on a lot of these guys are both on the OST and the Prelude EP. You get a lot of familiar names. But Kuro Silence, he had a really dope track. I love the piano on that track. I feel like the piano added like this really serene feel to that instrumental. Yeah, it almost sounds like a closing track, like something you would hear like at the end of an episode, or maybe like the closing credits. So yeah, I really enjoyed the OST. Like I said, it's a really short project. It doesn't take really that long to get to. I feel like the term background music has like a negative connotation to it, but like I actually like literally I'll play this EP if I'm writing. I don't like to listen to music while I'm writing, or at least music with words. So this for me is something I can play in the background while I'm writing. I just get some really dope instrumentals, something nice and chill to just kind of listen to while I'm writing, or just might be doing some kind of household task, and I just kind of want some music in the background to, kind of fill that empty space. So the OST is really dope. I'll leave a SoundCloud link in the description so you guys can listen to it. Both of these projects are free, so download them, listen to them. Like I said, I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can check that out. And then on to the other project, which is the Prelude. Sorry, I'm trying to get to my notes, which I have in front of me, but they're jumbled all over the place. So yeah, the Samurai Shin, the Prelude EP. So let me give also production shout outs on this one. So shout outs to King the Cypher, Kuro Silence, Gia Dawn, I Am KRT, DP, Nodfather, and Lupin the Beatsmith. And then shout outs to the vocal performances on this one. Torre, which hopefully you guys know, if you ever heard of the group Barrel Brothers with Torre and Skyzoo. Torre's a pretty beast MC from New York. So yeah, I started listening to him through Skyzoo, through their project together, but Torre also has solo projects out. A group called Two Katanas, which I'm not familiar with, but shout outs to them. They had actually one of my favorite tracks on here. And the homie Metaphor the Great, man. If you listen to the Boondocks or watch the Boondocks, you know who Metaphor the Great is. You know him, but you might not know him. He did a lot of tracks for the Boondocks. And if you ever listen to the Boondocks mixtapes that they put out by DJ Wally Sparks and what was the other guy's name? DJ Dub Floyd. I cannot remember the name of those mixtapes, but I love them. They got 3 of them out. But Metaphor the Great contributed to a lot of those. And also, side note, if you ever seen, man, legendary YouTube video, Metaphor the Great versus Tube Steak, who's Carl Jones, who I believe was a producer of the Boondocks. Also the voice of Thugnificent. But legendary rap battle parody video, man. So shout outs to Metaphor the Great, man. It was really dope to hear him on this project. Musically wise, like I said, the Prelude EP, a lot like the OST, really jazzy, really soulful, mixed with some boom bap. Like I said, very reminiscent of a Nuja Best sound, Marcus D, a Fat John. Very much in that realm of instrumentals. So some of my favorite tracks on here, love the intro on this one also. Features the voice acting again from Damon Mills, who plays Keith, and Keith is just kind of going on this spiel about how he's trying to become, a better samurai, and then that's kind of sets the drop for the rest of the project. Some of my favorite tracks on this Like Water by Gia Dunn, really chill, kind of calm head nodding track. Kind of reminds me of something, I don't know if you guys remember, old PlayStation game called Tenchu. I feel like it's like one of the best ninja themed games ever created, but that instrumental kind of reminds me of something I would have heard on that. The Torre track called Some Days. I love Torre's hook, talking about throwing ninja stars, doing leg sweeps and kicks and stuff like that. So yeah, that track was really dope. It was really cool to just hear Torre contribute to this project. So that track was cool. Lost by King the Cypher was another dope one. One of my favorite tracks on here, which I mentioned, Metaphor the Great. Metaphor the Great's track on here was called Love or War, and this was produced by King the Cypher. I love Metaphor's second verse when he says, but with me, I'ma state my intentions and stand by my word, like stand by in this sentence. So I thought that was some really dope wordplay from him, and really good beat from King the Cypher. And I love the closing track also, Core Demonstration, performed by Two Katanas and produced by Loop and the Beatsmith. And it's kind of just them trading bars kind of over this really like vintage boom bap, kind of jazzy, but really I feel like a bit more on the hardcore side boom bap beat. Definitely puts you in the mood of a samurai theme track. Like both of these projects, especially this EP, the Prelude EP, just does a really good job of capturing the vibe of what the comic is. It's very much, this project is Samurai Shin as a whole, like the comic and the music, very much into that theme of the samurai world kind of colliding with the hip hop world, and you get this just good fusion of both, and you can see the influence of both in this project. So like I said, the EP, from the jazzy soulful boom bap production, just really good solid instrumentals, man. It's a really dope project, probably one of my favorite instrumental projects I've listened to this year in reference to the Prelude EP. So yeah, man, really good work on this, man. Samurai Shin as a whole, like I said, from the comics to the instrumental EPs, it's a really dope project, really good rollout, something I think would be worth keeping an eye on. Hopefully, if I can remember, I will also drop a link in the description for both OSTs, and I think they had a trailer also for this, which I didn't even know until I had searched it right before I started jotting notes for my review. So yeah, man, I'll try to leave the links in the description so you guys can just get a feel for what this project is about, man. It's like I said, if you're a fan of like Samurai Champloo, Afro Samurai, and also you're a fan of, you know, like hip hop, this is a good like fusion baby project, which incorporates all of those into one, and you just get a nice creation out of it. So I think this will definitely find a good solid fan base. Like I said, as long as the issues stay on the trajectory that they're at now, I think they'll be able to build a pretty solid fan base from this, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it, man. So yeah, man, Samurai Shin, like I said, as a whole, issue 1, issue 1.5, the Prelude EP, and the OST soundtrack, all dope projects. Definitely give these a listen. Definitely worth listening to. Like I said, the soundtracks are free, so you can go listen to those on SoundCloud. And the comics, man, they're $1, both $1 a piece. So if you can't throw $1 in support, man, like, just stop playing, man. Give $2 to support the cause. give $2, man. I gave them my money. It was money well spent, and whenever Volume 2 comes out, I'll be copping those as well. They are digital only, so you know, you have to open it up as like a PDF file, I guess, on your laptop or you know, on your phone or whatever. But they can both be purchased at comiccentral.com. That's COMIX central.com, and I'll post a link to the page so you guys can purchase them, check them out, give it a look, man. Give it a look. So shout outs to Michael Miles, Ivan Aguilar, everybody who contributed to the artwork, all the producers and MCs who contributed to the soundtracks. It all ties in together really nicely, and it looks like something that's worth keeping an eye on. So definitely give this project a look. And real quick, I guess before I get out of here, I got one more project. I was really happy I got a chance to check this out. Just a quick side note, man. This Windows 10 update on my laptop. I can't even say update. Well, I had to get a new laptop because my old one pretty much died. But I didn't have Windows 10 on my old laptop, and I was forced to get Windows 10 on the new one that I bought because it pretty much came with it. But I really was not a fan of Windows 10 to say the least. And one of the issues I was having was my Adobe Flash Player. When I downloaded the new one, it would always freeze the site that I was on. So it was useless. I couldn't use it. Every time I would go to try to play a video, the page would just freeze. So eventually, I uninstalled it, and I was kind of angry because the reason I even downloaded the Adobe Flash Player was because I wanted to check out this project, Children of Ether, and I couldn't because it was on Crunchyroll, and Crunchyroll, of course, uses Adobe. And I was like, well, I'm just kind of stuck. And eventually my laptop did a BIOS update, and then I downloaded the Adobe Flash Player again, and boom, it worked. Go back to Crunchyroll, and it's like, all right, all systems go. Let's check out Children of Ether. For those of you who don't know, man, Children of Ether is an anime project created by Lesean Thomas. If you don't know who Lesean Thomas, man, is, do your homework. Like, this dude I've been watching him for a long time now. I first got wind of him, I can't even remember when these videos came out. It was years ago. But Lesean is an animator. He worked on the Boondocks. He worked on Legend of Korra. I know he's got a few other projects under his belt, but those are the two main ones that if you research him, you'll find out that he was involved in. But he put out a video series called Soul Sessions, where he went to, you get to see his journey of leaving his home and going to South Korea to learn more about animation and work, with those guys over there to see what their style is and how he can mix it with his. It's a really dope series just to see, somebody go so far for their passion to learn from, some of the best people in the industry. So like that video series was just a really good watch, man. Like, even if you're not into animation, like I like animation, but it's not a job or something I would ever want to do, but just to see Lesean's journey up to this point has been awesome. And like now, and within these last few years, a lot of the projects that I've been hearing from him, some which I've even contributed to on Kickstarter, like they're coming to life now. But yeah, Children of Ether is one of the projects that he's been working on for quite some time. And the first episode, which is, I guess, is kind of like a prelude episode, is now up on Crunchyroll, and I'll definitely leave a description below so you guys can check that out. But I guess a quick just overview, being that there's a video of this, I don't want to go too deep into it because I just want you guys to watch it. Episode's only about 14 minutes long, so it's a quick get through. But Children of the Ether follows the main character, Rhonda, and it pretty much starts off with, she's kind of on the run due to something she did, which I won't say. Kind of seemed like it was an accident, but she did it nonetheless, and she's being chased. They never really say the person's name, so she's kind of this unknown person who's definitely trying to kill her, though. It starts off, you get thrown right into a fight scene, which I like. Like I said, I like stories that just kind of start off, they throw you in there, and then we'll figure out the story later. But she gets thrown right into a fight scene, and she's scrapping, having a nice sword fight with this person, and they're kind of like this underground subway. They're fighting on the train, and then in the middle of the fight, Rhonda activates these powers that she's trying to find out like what they are. And like right before the fight's about to head in the wrong direction, her powers activate, and it just kind of saves her from the situation. And then from there, after she activates the power, she ends up passing out, and she meets these two characters. One of them is named Pint, and I can't remember. Pint has a brother I can't remember. But she meets them, and it's pretty much a story of her traveling through this kind of like dystopian landscape, trying to find answers about her powers and other things about her father. And it's just kind of that whole adventure, and she's meeting people along the way. And like I said, it's not too much to really get into. It's only a 14-minute clip, and like I said, I don't really want to spoil it. I'd rather you guys just kind of watch it. I just want to give you a quick feel as to what it's about. But things I noticed off the bat just from watching just the 14 minutes, I really love the character designs. Get a good variation of character designs, a really diverse set of characters also, which I think is really important. Not too often. It's been a long time since I've watched an anime and you get a female lead, but also an African American female lead by Rhonda, which I thought was really dope. And then aside from her, some of the other characters, I don't even know if I can call the guy a villain because I don't really know much of his story, but she meets this other guy who has this really weird eye, but I thought it was really cool. I like his character design. So the artwork in the show is really dope. You get a diverse, it seems like, set of characters. Like I said, she ends up meeting this little kid named Pint and his brother, and they're both kind of really two distinct characters. You got Pint, who seems really happy and go lucky, and then his brother, who seems like a bit more on the serious side, but he's a really smart kid. And I thought that those two characters were really dope. But the best thing I think I pulled from this really quick episode, this anime does a really good job of the voice acting. And a lot of times, if you've been watching anime, some people like it subtitled, some people like the dubbed American voices or whatever. I found that most of the time I tend to watch anime subtitled. Certain ones I don't mind watching dubbed, but most of the time I watch subtitled, only because I feel like the Japanese voices just do a better job of like conveying emotion, and I feel like they have more feeling. I don't know. To me, it seems like that. So I don't mind reading the words because I feel like the sound matches more of the situation. Like in moments when it's more intense, they're more intense. They know, I don't know. I feel like the Japanese voices just do a better job of capturing emotion. But these American voiceovers were really, really, really good. Like it's a good blend of, you get like that Japanese style drawing, but more so, I would say, Western American style like dialogue. And I think it meshes really well because it seems like the dialogue is written really, really well. And it's kind of hard to explain, but like if you watched anime and you watch American dubs, the writing's just different. And not that it's a good or a bad thing, but it's just different. The way they word things, their sentence structure, it's just different. But this has a much more, I would say, like American feel to it in terms of dialogue. But then you get like the Japanese style, more influence, like drawings and animation. So I think those two worlds collide really, really, really well on Children of Ether. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of the show. Like I said, I don't want to get too deep into it because I would rather you guys just watch it. So I'll leave a link down below to Crunchyroll so you can check it out. But shout outs to Lesean Thomas, man. Dude's been putting in a lot of work for some years now. He's got Children of the Ether, which I believe, like I said, it's on Crunchyroll. So I'm assuming this will be eventually turned into like a full-length project. The Kickstarter, which I originally donated to way back when, Cannon Busters, which he also, if I remember, I'll put a link down there because he put out I think only the Kickstarter viewers, the Kickstarter contributors can watch it. But he's got Cannon Busters is another show that he was working on some time ago, and that recently did get picked up by Netflix. I believe it's going to be 12 episodes. So definitely looking forward to that. That one also has a pretty cool story. Also, much like Children of the Ether, diverse set of characters, good voice acting. Sean's on a roll, man. Like, I feel like when the ball really gets rolling and these projects start coming out in full, that this guy's gonna be a face that a lot more people will definitely know about. And like I said, I've been following him for a while now. Big fan of his work. Love his story and just his beginnings. And I think a lot of people are gonna enjoy the projects that he releases. So definitely, man, give Children of the Ether a try. Like I said, I think only the Kickstarter contributors can look at the Cannon Busters episode that he put out, but I know there's like artwork out there, teaser trailers, so you can still kind of research it, get a feel for what it's about. But yeah, man, support the homie Lesean Thomas, man. He's been putting in a lot of work, and I think a lot of it is finally coming to fruition. So it's been really just cool to follow him for all these years and see that all of his hard work seems to be getting at the point where it's about to start paying off. So yeah, man, shout out to Lesean Thomas. Give Children of Ether a watch. It seems like it's going to be a really good show. The story seems like it's going to develop into something nice, a nice little, I guess, action adventure story from what I'm gathering. It's the vibe I kind of get from it. But like I said, really good character design, solid action, great voice acting, good diverse set of characters. It looks like it'll be something different. It'll be something different than, the shows that I think a lot of us watch and are fans of. I think he'll do a good job of giving us that familiar anime style, but putting like his own special twist on it. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Children of the Ether. So yeah, man, just a quick recap: Samurai Shin, Volume 1, 1.5, and then we got the Prelude EP and the OST. EPs, nice, dope, jazzy production, good samples, good mixture of that hip-hop samurai fusion kind of coming together. The comics are dope, solid artwork, solid story. Shout outs to Michael Miles once again and Ivan Aguilar for creating a dope project that seems like it's definitely on the up and up. It's getting better. And then once again, Lesean Thomas, Children of the Ether. Dope anime, it seems like, so far, and he's out here. Lesean's out here putting in the work, so it's a good time to be a creative. For like a lot of indie people, man, a lot of lesser known people are in this age are getting a chance to show what they can do, and I just think it's dope, man. This is the age of the creators, and I'm trying to get in there, man. I've got projects and books and stuff I'm working on, so hopefully one day, man, I'll be out there with you guys, putting out projects, putting out work, putting out, stories and content that people will be able to enjoy and ingest and pass along. So I'm definitely a fan of you guys. It's always inspiring to see other people, other just regular everyday people, putting out, good pieces of art, good pieces of work, and just seeing them grind, seeing them have success. So shout outs to Michael Miles, Ivan Aguilar, Lesean Thomas. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. So as always, I'll leave relevant links in the show notes below. So give all of these projects I mentioned a read / listen / a watch. Yeah, man, that's it. That's pretty much all I got for today. I didn't want to keep you guys here too long. I think I'm doing pretty good on time, almost about an hour. So guess I'll just wrap it up. As always, you can listen to me on SoundCloud, on YouTube, also on Google Play. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Serial Sensei. I'm also on WordPress. I don't post there much, but I'm on WordPress. I'm out there. And also, definitely like the Dojo Talk Podcast Facebook page. Post all of my content up there in regards to fights and albums and things that I review. So yeah, man, I'm putting out content, still trying to grow the fan base 40 plus episodes in, pondering episode 50, might do some kind of giveaway. Not sure. Don't hold me to it, but it might happen. But anywho, this has been another edition of the Dojo Talk Podcast. I am your host, Serial Sensei, and hopefully I will catch you guys soon. Peace.